What if Naruto stuck in Uchiha body and harem with Kushina Tsunade Amd Part 1? Fuinjutsu, the art of sealing, was esoteric in nature. It could store a person's memories, vast amounts of knowledge, instinctual habits at doing something, a phantom consciousness, and even leave a portion of themselves in an object as a countermeasure. Though such feats of Fuinjutsu could only be done by those who spent years after years of their lives to understand the art of sealing. 2 months ago, a feat of this scale occurred when the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi went rampart. Pain, or Nagato, a shinobi of Amigakure along with his 6 paths led an attack on the village hidden in the leaves. Their purpose? To take the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and drag him to their base. Prior to this, Pain had been responsible for killing Jiraiya the Toad Sage, his own former teacher, who managed to pass down information regarding the Rinnegan user's abilities. The 6 paths of Pain lead the assault, and after turning the village into a giant crater, his target Uzumaki Naruto appeared. Losing Jiraiya was a big blow to him, and later, he agreed to go to Empty Mayaboku to master Senjutsu. He had attained Sage mode perfectly. The young sage fought against the 6 paths of Pain, taking down 5 of the paths before finally the Tendo path's power became too overwhelming for him. Naruto was later stabbed with those accursed black rods as he laid on the ground waiting for defeat. Help came in the most unexpected manner when Tsunade reappeared to help the Jinchuriki, who reminded her of both the brother and lover she had lost. The Godame was not losing another person close to her heart. While her strength of display was impressive, her stamina nearly drained while protecting the villagers, and then, she was stabbed with the black rods of Pain, sending her into a comatose state. This made Naruto enter the tailed beast's berserker state, wherein the Kyuubi's chakra formed a layer of red, venomous cloak covered his body with an exoskeleton and 8 tails. Nagato, through his last remaining path, formed a small planetoid to contain it. However, Kyuubi's will of carnage overpowered it. Inside the mindscape, the image of Tsunade getting stabbed replayed constantly. He had already lost Jiraiya. The prospect of losing someone like Tsunade who tried protecting him had taken a mental toll on him. Kyuubi grinned with joy. Naruto arrived at the gate that held back the beast, to tear off the seal and let loose hell on Pain for committing such an atrocity. However, he had been stopped by another person in his mind. Namikaze Minato, the 4th Hokage, stopped him. He revealed he was Naruto's father. That particular revelation had made Naruto react in the most natural way he could, by punching his father in the gut. Later on, after Naruto calmed down a bit, Minato relayed that the masked man from the Akatsuki was responsible for the Kyuubi attack nearly 17 years ago. The 4th Hokage had mere moments before his chakra faded, but he proved why he was a seal master, as he ingrained knowledge of all his abilities, specific memories along with other necessary information in his son's mind, along with tightening the hack Fuin. That small shift in destiny caused a ripple. Naruto emerged from the small planetoid, in sage mode and wielding a kunai from his pouch. The blonde fought the Tendo path once more, and this time the Rinnegan user wasn't taking any chances as he too was tired. When the Rinnegan user unleashed another overwhelming, gravitational blast to increase their gap, Pain believed he had won. Pain ignored how the kunai Naruto threw missed him by inches going past his face, and the shock he felt when the boy disappeared in a yellow flash. Naruto appeared beside him and ended the Tendo path with a destructive Rasengan. Naruto would go on to confront the real Pain, Nagato, who like him was another student of Jiraiya. While Naruto wanted to kill him initially, it would have made no significant progress towards the dream his master wanted to achieve. Moved by the Jinchuriki's words and how their master dedicated their first book to Nagato's beliefs, the Rinnegan user brought back all the people he killed with a jutsu. It ultimately cost his own life. Nagato died believing that perhaps this teen would succeed where he failed. Uzumaki Naruto was welcomed back to the Hidden Leaf as a hero, finally earning that recognition he had been striving for. This, however, was merely an overture to a larger chain of events. XXXXX, HNSWH, XXXXX. The Jinchuriki's hand wielded a simple brush as he constructed several arrays with chakra-infused ink. Each line of text written carefully as his blue eyes scanned the matrix formula for the umpteenth time. Placing an empty ramen cup in the center of the scroll, he began to make hand seals at a rapid pace. He had to hand it to Namikaze Minato. His father was worthy of the SS rank. To have a perception like that in his dying moments, Such a thought process was terrifying. The memories he received also enhanced his knowledge on seals, tactics, jutsu, and overall bumped his mind to a higher level. Of course there were some unique drawbacks, but he overcame them with some professional help. Finishing the chain of hand seals, he made the sign for the ram and a small, circular void manifested above the ramen cup. The apparent hole in the air was making winds rise in the room. Everything inside the barrier, which Naruto had set up beforehand, was slowly drawing towards the swirling aberration inside the room. Naruto observed the 4 Hiraishin kunai, and noted the added layer of seals on the other side of the hilt glowing. The blonde kept another kunai outside the barrier for an experiment. He noted how everything outside the bluish barrier wasn't affected. As Naruto channeled chakra to escape from the 4-walled barrier he set up, he failed utterly. Yada! Naruto exclaimed at his apparent failure. Happiness reverberated within him, and he would have done a victory dance like his former master, if there wasn't a knock at the door. Urging the temptation to sigh and rip whoever the hell dared to disturb him in the middle of his mad scientist routine, he walked forward to answer. Yo, said the guest. Book in hand, nose in between pages 32 and 33, Hatake Kakashi waved his hand, lazily as ever. Sensei, Naruto said, his former twitchy frustration gone at the sight of his teacher. Kakashi did die, not for a very long time, but he did. Naruto would cut him some slack. Hokage-sama called you at her office, the lanky man said. She said it's urgent. Naruto dragged the word, a peevish expression. How urgent, sensei? I'm sort of in the middle of making something tricky. A nasty grin had formed on his face after uttering the last word. Kakashi shivered at the look. The man remembered how his sensei and his wife would often have bouts of madness when it came to seals. He never questioned it because he had his own set of issues to deal with. By reading porn. Moving his mind away from the past, he spoke. I'd hurry if I were you. I saw her sitting with no paperwork. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. And 3 empty bottles of sake. Oh shit. The blonde thought. A cold sweat ran down his spine. Tsunade with 3 bottles down indicated frustration. Frustration leads to anger, which lead to her socking him in the jaw, which he didn't complain much about. Perhaps he was a masochist like Jiraiya. Let's go then. Naruto stepped outside. Thankfully he was still wearing sandals and somewhat appropriate attire. As he closed the door behind him, ink appeared around the knob before spreading all over the wooden frame and disappearing. You know, Kakashi said as both started to walk away from the Namake's residence, a house that the Yondaime was shrewd enough to build behind the Hokage monument. I never really pictured you becoming proficient at seals. Well, I never imagined you being Inu-san, Naruto replied, both of them starting run at a good pace. There was some distance to cover and reconstruction for the village was yet to start in full bloom. Well, ANBU aren't supposed to reveal their secrets, Kakashi said, indicating a smile with his enclosed, visible eye. Finally, both of them decreased their speed to a normal walking one. You just did. Touché, Kakashi muttered as they walked along. The copy ninja would have said more, had he not been distracted by the people flocking towards them, each of them greeting Naruto, shaking his hand, gracious for getting the chance to speak with him. For Kakashi this was an uneasy experience. While he may not have interacted with Naruto when he was a child, he did keep an eye on him whenever the former ANBU was in the village. Kakashi remembered the glares, the sneers, the curses, and the neglect. How they ignored his very existence, of their hero. How they glared at him for speaking to them, and finally, for even having the gall to live among them. Human behavior was a paradox at best. If these people were to learn of Itachi's true reason for massacring the clan, Lord knows what they would do. The copy ninja could tell that Naruto was a bit peeved, even uncomfortable at times, with the amount of attention and praise he received. He couldn't blame the teen. This was the first time a large number of people began to see for what Naruto was really worth. Thankfully, their stride didn't last too long, as they reached a very ordinary-looking 2-story building. Made with Tenzo patented wood, as Kakashi pointed out, this was the new Hokage Tower, or Hokage Office. The respectable elders called it a pigsty, before they were arrested of course. That came as no surprise to anyone. It was just a matter of when and not if. Knocking at the door, Kakashi heard a feminine voice muttering "Come in," and the white-haired man simply opened the door for his student to enter. You're not coming in, sensei? Naruto asked. Well, Kakashi said, shrugging his shoulders, I sort of know what this is about, but if there's anything out of the blue let me know. Right, Naruto said and was going to walk in, but Kakashi's next words halted him. Also, the Sharingan wielder spoke with a low tone, I'm sorry. Huh? Naruto turned around in confusion. Sorry, for what? For everything, Kakashi said. Shame and regret present in his voice, as he continued, I really should have been there for you. I looked up to Sensei a lot. I didn't realize how much I did until I lost him, and for that I'm truly. Apology accepted, Naruto said, as he closed the door with solemn expression on his face. This might sound weird, but I kinda understand. I mean, some of Dad's memories show just how down and out were after you lost your teammates. On top of that, you were in NBU, so you were messed up in the head, even if a little bit. That said, I'm still a bit pissed at you, Gigi and Erosenin. I was a goddamn orphan, man. I really did consider suicide 1 or 2 times when I was a kid. I didn't have anyone, and having some company wouldn't have hurt that much. Kakashi winced at the words. Not only because he ignored Naruto as a child, but also as a student. Sharingan no Kakashi wasn't perfect, he could admit that fact freely. Teaching and doting on Sasuke to a certain extent more than his other students did prove that. All Kakashi ever taught Naruto was teamwork, surface clinging, and helped him finish the Raisin Shuriken. Yet, the teen didn't hold an ounce of prejudice against him. That made it all the more worse. But Naruto paused and the copy ninja met his eyes. The blonde, instead of scowling, smiled. I also know that you changed. It took some time, but you did stand up for me. You even died, and I couldn't do a damn thing about it. I should be apologizing, sensei. You don't need to apologize for anything, Naruto, Kakashi said. It all worked out in the end, didn't it? Yeah, it did. We were lucky, Data Bail, Naruto said with an awkward chuckle. I've gotta admit though, you suddenly catching me in the outskirts nearly made me scream like a girl. I mean, people die when they are killed. Kakashi's sweat dropped at his word. Leave it to Naruto to say something awkward like that. You probably shouldn't say that phrase, ever, again. Why not? I mean, people die if they are killed, right? Naruto repeated, scratching the back of his head. Yeah, just don't. Sounds cheesy, Kakashi replied. Dear Lord, that sounded so wrong. Give it a few years, sensei. Then you'll see how it becomes a thing. I don't see that happening. Get your ass in here, brat. A yell of terror shook the entire area around them, and both sighed. Well, you better get going. Hell hath no fury and all, Kakashi said. By the way, meet me afterwards. There's something I want to show you. Is it a cool jutsu? Because I am craving, Naruto said with stars in his eyes. Kakashi was glad this was still Naruto. At least Minato-sensei didn't mold his persona into the boy. That would have been terrifying. Something like that. Ja-ni, Kakashi said before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. He reappeared some distance away, as momentarily closed the famed orange book of lewdness and debauchery. He looked at his right hand, and even today, Kakashi could still see Rin's blood on it. It was something he would regret for the rest of his life, taking the life of a comrade, but Rin chose her fate. She whispered the truth about what happened to her, and why it had to be done. It didn't make it easier though. It took Kakashi nearly 17 years, but he was finally able to move on. The Sandaime was right, Team 7 healed him. They closed that scar, filling that gap that was left from so long ago. All he could do from now was protect the younger generation, and if Sasuke didn't reform, his patience and mercy only went so far. A new war was coming. Bloody days and even bloodier nights would follow. Of that he had no doubt. Perhaps, Kakashi thought, a dark aura emitting from him as his eye darkened. Cold-blooded Kakashi needs to return. XXXXX, HNSWH, XXXXX. Patience was not her strongest suit, unless it involved gambling or surgery. Her mind worked in a different way under those circumstances. The world itself became limited to the room she would be in. Other than that, Senju Tsunade's temperament went so far. Being kept waiting was something she didn't tolerate either. Not one bit. If he doesn't get his ass in here, in less than 30 seconds I will dash. Tsunade's thoughts ended there as the door opened, and in walked the hero of the leaf. He had gotten strong, perhaps stronger than her. She wasn't sure about that, but with the Hiraishin it made him broken to an extent. Add that in with 3 elemental affinities, a shitload of chakra and his mastery over natural energy. Uzumaki Naruto was a force to be reckoned with. Yet he had so much more potential. Over the years he'd become special to her. There were a few people she would willingly risk her life for, and Naruto would always be one of them. Yo, he greeted. She sighed. Getting him to have some form of etiquette was still a laborious task. Maybe it was impossible. But something was off, and she realized exactly what it was. That's it? She asked curiously. Eh? What do you mean? Naruto, he replied in confusion. No, Bachan, or anything like that? Tsunade inquired. It was something she was used to by now. Granted, she was old, something she didn't appreciate one bit, and being reminded of it didn't help. But Naruto not saying it felt weird. I figured I'd give you a break from that, he replied cheekily. I mean, you just got out from a coma, so... Didn't know you were this considerate, brat, she said haughtily. Miracles did happen now and then. I tried, Adebayo. I'm not as bad as everyone makes it out to be, Naruto mumbled childishly. So what did you call me for? I'm working on this sweet new seal, and then I'll finally get to work on my other affinities. That reminds me, why didn't you focus on those 2 elements before? Tsunade asked. It was something that had been bugging her for some time. Kakashi is a good right-un user and Yamato knew Suiton. Why go for futon? They did, but I wanted something that would make me stand out, he spoke, and in that moment Tsunade saw a true shinobi standing there. His voice filled with conviction, plus, I've never been one for shortcuts. Except now, but even Dad's jutsu came at a price. I swear I had really awkward dreams, some of them were his memories. I have been officially scarred. Geez, kid, what did you see? She stopped herself as it proverbially dawned inside her mind. Oh, thankfully I don't have those dreams anymore. Ino and her mind jutsu thingy is awesome, Naruto said. Huh, Tsunade shrugged. So any reason why she's still visiting your house? Oh, you know, Naruto chuckled nervously. So that the memories don't mess with me again. Training leaves me tired, Adebayo. I see. So, why do you put up privacy and silencing seals, blocking out the sounds and obscuring the windows of your house? She asked, a mild glare on her face. Well, you see, Naruto spoke, his mind obviously cooking up some excuses. Tsunade wasn't naive, she knew the 2 were sleeping together if Sakura's rants were anything to be believed. While it was none of her business, Tsunade couldn't afford to have a super pervert on her hands, no matter how much she would miss her former teammate. Look, brat, Tsunade spoke as he finally stopped counting the number of excuses, I'm not one to say about what you do and who you do it with. But keep it in your head, she's a clan heiress. Not to mention I may have to put a restraining order on you seeing how girls seem to be throwing themselves at you. Oi, Ino isn't like that, he exclaimed, defending his fellow blonde. It wouldn't have happened if we didn't spend so much time together, and locking away intimate memories like that has its side effects. Besides, it's not like we're seeing each other or something. Watch yourself, Gaki. I don't want another Jiraiya here, Tsunade said. Don't want you walking around and breaking girls' hearts left and right. That's not happening anytime soon. Besides, I don't think I'll date anyone from Konoha, Naruto replied, pouting. He then whispered something. Tsunade heard it, and her breath almost hitched. What did you say? Tsunade asked. Nothing, Naruto said defensively and was going to bring up another topic, before Tsunade's fist banged against her desk. What? Did you say? She asked, her fist gathering more strength with each passing second. She heard him sigh, before he put his hands in his pockets. I said, he paused, if you were younger, I'd probably date you. Is this another one of your pranks? Tsunade asked, her best poker face on. Because if you are. It's not, honestly, Naruto said, not really meeting her gaze as he continued. I mean, being with Ero-sennin, you pick up some of his habits, if not all of them. And I sort of started liking older women more. At first I thought it was just that, but it wasn't. I sort of realized that most of the girls in my class were either fangirls or not serious. This is confusing. What I'm trying to say is, I like women that have their priorities straight. I mean, look at me. I'd probably need someone strong-willed, kind, loving, and bossy enough to keep me in line considering how much trouble I cause. He finished with an awkward chuckle, and closing his eyes. He didn't notice how Tsunade's eyes widened, how her cheeks had become pink before she cleverly hid it. You've become a smooth talker, Tsunade said, not meeting his gaze. Instead, she opted to open a drawer and picked out a scroll. Unsealing the contents, it revealed a Chunin flak jacket. She then threw it at the unsuspecting blonde, with a considerable amount of force as he keeled over. Damn it, what was that for? He grumbled in annoyance. Stupid blonde men and their stupid honey-coated words making her see him in a different light. Must be the sake messing with her. There was no way in hell that he looked like a man with a charming look on his face when he spoke. That's your jacket. Congrats, you're a Chunin now, she said, and thankfully, he became distracted by it. That was good. Awesome, he said as took off his jacket, and once more, Tsunade cursed her mind. The blamed sake in her system made her notice how muscular his arms became. Hell, he shouldn't look that good with his hair flowing like that, and he had grown his hair too. Don't do something stupid, Tsunade, she told herself. This is Naruto. A brat. Minato and Kushina's brat. He's far too young. She fought those budding feelings back. While she was wholly abusing her intentions, the woman part of her refused the statements. It had been years since Tsunade had been remotely intimate with someone. While she was indeed old, her body wasn't, and she did crave something. Something she hadn't had in a while, and this idiot was sparking those flames again. Oh yeah, I'm going back to empty Mayaboku in 2 weeks, Naruto added all of a sudden, effectively derailing her thoughts. Much to her relief. What? Why? Tsunade asked. She couldn't let him find out about the declared war under any circumstance. She knew exactly how he would rush to the front lines if he found out. Well, my senjutsu training is finished, but there are a few more things I want to work on. I think I know why Kakashi-sensei called me today, Naruto said. Plus, time flows slowly there for some reason. At least I think so, anyway. Tsunade spoke. There's something else you should know. What? The Raikage's brother, Killer Bee, is the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi. He's mastered the full power of his Biju, she continued. Octopus! Naruto exclaimed and snapped his fingers. So he's the guy Sleepy-Toed Geezer Sage was talking about. I'm going to ignore that, mostly because it doesn't make any log-damned sense, she said. Anyways, you're going to meet up with him and the trip will take a little over a month. But how? I need to go back to the Toad's place. There's something I want to try, if you let me finish, plus going back and forth will waste so much time. Sure, I have to meet this octopus guy. He's going to help me and all. You're not listening, are you? But there's so much more I can do in between. And my log, don't hit me with that table. Naruto squeaked. He wasn't ashamed. Manlier men had squirmed before Tsunade's monstrous strength. It was not every day one could claim they were threatened by the legendary sucker promising to give a concussion. Seeing the desk drop with a thud, the room shook with a violent aftershock. As I was saying, Tsunade said, her eyes closed with anger. The trip will take over a month, and you have your own plans, but thankfully there is a solution. What? Teleportation? Naruto quipped. Please hit me, he requested. With pleasure, Tsunade said, closing the distance between them and bopping him on the head, which was enough to make him hit the ground. I'm going to be honest. I enjoyed that far more than I should have. Yeah, no doubt about that. Naruto got up, nose bleeding, and his jacket went from pure green to sporting spots of red. Oh great, now my Chunin jacket of authority is tainted. Do you live in your own world? Well, the seas aren't made of broth, and it doesn't rain ramen from the sky. So, no, he said, and felt Tsunade's palm settle over his nose. A green glow emitting from it, and a small warmth encompassed him. Wow. Yeah, my mystic palm is a bit different from Sakura's and Shizen's, she replied. It's because of the chakra nature difference. Not that, he said the moment she stopped healing him. It didn't take that long regarding his freakish healing rate. I meant your hand. It was, really soft. Did you really mean it? She asked, her gaze moving away from him. Yup, soft as silk. Know that, you stupid idiot. She paused for a moment, her voice low. The other thing about me being younger and you, Well, yeah, Naruto said, you're probably one of the few I'd ever want to date. That or someone like Mom. I mean, she seems like someone who could keep someone like me in line. Developing a crush on your mother, huh? Tsunade smirked. No, he denied. The pink on his cheeks said otherwise. Okay, maybe I did. But can you blame? She's gorgeous with that red hairs of her. Dad was lucky. I mean, she's probably the most beautiful woman I saw, just like you and your amazing hazel eyes. Charmer, now get, she said and motioned for him to leave. Before he could, she spoke again, almost forgot. Naruto. Yeah? He stood up and faced her, almost as tall as her now. 3 years with Jiraiya had been good for him, in addition to the added growth the Kyuubi's chakra had on him. You know what? She said. I don't full MMPH. Naruto couldn't finish as he felt a pair of soft lips over his own. The Naruto of old would have frozen. Taught by Jiraiya, he could only follow his master's advice and go with the flow. As their lips caressed each other's, Naruto opened his mouth, and soon enough his tongue met with Tsunade's as they fought for dominance, before finally separating for some time. He incoherently said, breathing a bit raggedly. Flash to your place, now, Tsunade said. But what about the office, he asked, only getting another passionate kiss that ensnared him further. I finished the work for the day. Besides, Shizen can cover for me, she said, her voice dangerously sultry now. What does this mean? He had to ask. This was Tsunade, and he wasn't sure how to feel about this. Granted, she was old, but she didn't look old. She didn't feel old. Hell, he had some thoughts about her every now and then, he wouldn't deny that. Still, I don't know, she replied. But whatever it is, I'm going to enjoy this for one day. I haven't really been with anyone since then. I need something to calm me down. Can you do that for me, Naruto? That was all he needed to know. Her saying his name. Sure, things wouldn't work out between them. Time had made sure of that. But for today and some other nights, if he was lucky enough, he would oblige. Sure, he said, sure that the perverted sage in heaven would be proud. And with that, Naruto and Tsunade disappeared in a yellow flash, appearing in his house. In the bedroom, conveniently enough, it didn't take long for them to heatedly take each other again, but once Tsunade's kimono-style blouse came off, he thanked the gods of all that was eki and hentai, as Jiraiya taught him. And the log, always the log. I see it, Erosenin, Naruto said as he looked at a topless, blushing Tsunade. Her magnificent chest waiting to be ravaged, that near-death beating of yours did not go down in vain. Hey, she said, in an almost shy voice yet having some sass in it. What the hell are you looking at? The most beautiful woman in the world, and was all he could say before Tsunade pulled him by his shirt. He only noticed now how his parents' picture frame was facing them. I'm sorry, but this is worth it. XXXXX, HNSWH, XXXXX. Pain, everywhere, Naruto groaned out, with all the strength he could muster. Oh, that's just weakness leaving the body and karma working its charm, said a beautiful red-haired woman. Her violet eyes twinkled with mirth upon seeing the teen sit up, cracks resounding with his movements. Karma has nothing to do with it, Kachan, Naruto muttered as he held his ribcage. Sure, the whole thing was in his mind, but being slammed around with Kushina's chains was not nice. Now he knew how the Kyuubi felt during their fight when the beast was held down. The poor, big incarnate of destruction. Well, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't slept with Tsunade, in my room, she yelled, her hair flickering wildly. It was eerily reminiscent to how the Kyuubi's tails would menacingly float. Do you have any idea how much awkward it was watching my little baby plunge himself into a woman decades older than him? Technically speaking, her body doesn't age as long as the seal is in effect. That's not the point, Databane, Kushina said, her fist manifested chains to emphasize the yet-to-be-said point. You turned out a lot like Jiraiya. Honestly, having sex with someone even before you're married. Really? Naruto questioned. What do you mean, really? Kushina replied. I know, Naruto simply said, looking away, his own cheeks red. The image was vividly clear in his mind. No, what? Kushina asked, not liking how Naruto was dodging her questions. She wanted to give out a beating, Databane. In her opinion, it was wrong. About the Horatian mark on your left ass cheek, he replied, and instantly received a jackhammer-like blow to his face. Kushina's face and hair shared the exact same color. That's not something you say to your mother, Databane, she said and wildly flailed her arms around. Gonna be honest here, Naruto said, clutching his head in pain. At this point I'm sure I have brain damage. With that filthy mind, I'm not surprised. Jiraiya corrupted you way too much, Kushina said with an angry glare. That's rich, considering what you and Tuchan used to do when you were 16, Naruto replied. Okay, maybe he was a bit of a pervert, all men were, but people really ought to cut his former master some slack. Jiraiya was lust incarnate to a certain degree, which he proudly admitted, but the man had admirable traits too. He passed on his dream of bringing peace to the shinobi world, and the Toad Sage firmly believed in Naruto too. Not to mention Minato and Nagato backed that statement. On a side note, and a very wrong one, that Kushina looked cuter with the blush. Naruto, you piece of shit, he told himself. That's your mom. Think about Ino and Tsunade. Goddamn red hair. That was different. Kushina tried to defend her actions. Oh yes, having sex in the Uzumaki Mask Temple was different, alright, he said, and this time dodged the blow. Ka-chan, stop it. I'm pretty sure I'm beyond the whole sex lecture thing, Databale. Maybe, but it's my job to keep you in line, she said with a depressing aura while sitting down. I don't want my only son to turn into a lek. Don't worry about that, Ka-chan, Naruto said as he sat near her. The thing with Tsunade was unexpected. As for Ino, well, that just sorta happened. I mean, I know Tuchan didn't want to give me those memories, seeing how he had a human-sized claw through his stomach at the time. But watching him and you going at it like rabbits and 3 out 5 times when I slept, outright scarred me. I didn't ask to see how I was born. Well, Kushina said, trying to make up an excuse about her and Minato's active lifestyle to keep things kinky. She failed. On top of that, it was you, Naruto continued, not really caring to sugarcoat his words. I mean, look at you. You're a freaking goddess with those violet eyes, red hair and face that'll make any man's breathe hitch. You can't really blame for not having a crush on you at one point. Really? Kushina asked curiously. Then it morphed into a teasing smile. Naruto-chan had a crush on his Ka-chan? Stop it, Naruto grumbled. Her poking his cheeks didn't help. It took a lot of time, mind tampering, sex with Ino and Tsunade to temporarily forget about you. Perv, she said, rubbing more salt into his wound. Deal with it. I could say the same about you too, Naruto said, and for a moment nothing was said between the two. Kushina started giggling, which morphed into a full-blown laughter. It was infectious and Naruto soon joined her. So, she spoke again, were you serious about the crush part? As wrong as it sounds, yes? You can't blame me though, Naruto said, not looking at the redhead who ruffled his hair. He felt like a child, which he wasn't, but he'd let her have this. She was his mom after all. Don't worry, Naruto-chan, Kushina said. My boy is already this handsome and strong. You'll find someone like your Ka-chan. Who knows, she might be even more beautiful than me, Databane. I doubt that, Naruto said. Seriously, I'd have to find your doppelganger. Then a gloomy expression took over his face as he could feel her chakra signatures slowly fading away. It wasn't fair. He had just met his mother for the first time in his life. True, he had seen memories of her from his father's projection of transferred memories. But that didn't change the fact he was seeing his mother for the last time. How much longer can you stay, Ka-chan? Naruto said with a downed expression. Not much. Kushina replied sadly. She then looked at her son, knowing that she only had a few select words left to say. I know I don't have much time, son. So listen closely. Naruto merely listened to the words his mother said. This was possibly the last time he would ever speak to her. He deserved more time with her. He deserved more time with his father. He had just known them for a few minutes, and they were leaving him. I'm sorry we couldn't be there for you when you grew up. Because of us you had to live a life scorned and hated. You never knew what it was like to have parents. Kushina choked out, tears fell freely. It was still a miracle, how her son hadn't outright hated his parents for doing this to him. He had a strong heart, her son. Like a true Uzumaki. Don't worry about that, Ka-chan, Naruto said with a grin. He slowly put his hand over his chest as he spoke. I never hated you guys for that. In fact, deep down I knew that you guys loved me. And besides, having Fuzzy isn't such a burden. Well, it wasn't, And I guess it was because I always sort of knew that my parents were looking out for me even if they weren't here. Looks like I was right, Databeo. The moment he finished, he felt a familiar sense of warmth around him. His mother was hugging him. He too hugged back and gripped her as tightly as he could. He could see the lower portions of her body fading into golden dust, disappearing into nothing. Don't give up until the very end, Naruto. But something tells me you won't. You're my son after all, she said as she laughed and cried at the same time. Damn right I am, he replied with a tone of confidence. Her form was fading even further. Only her upper body portion remained as she said her last words to her son in this world. Thank you for letting me be your mother, and for letting Minato be your father. Thank you for being our son. Thank you, Naruto. Damn it, you made me tear up, Kaachan, he said to no one as he stood alone in the inner shell of his mindscape. Even beyond death, his parents had helped him. He closed his eyes as the last few drops of tear fell and vanished. He opened his eyes as the blue orb shined with determination. Whatever doubts had previously plagued his mind had disappeared, as he channeled the Kyuubi's chakra to gain a golden cloak of chakra covering his body. With this power, he would stop the Akatsuki, Madara, Tobi, whatever he called himself. He was the last hurdle. This should be enough to take him down, Naruto thought to himself. From Tuchan's memories, Madara's biggest weapon is his intangibility. If I can just time my attacks right, I should be able to defeat him. Deactivating the form inside his mindscape, his thoughts went back to everything that transpired after he was recognized as a hero those 3 historic months ago. Sasuke joining the Akatsuki, Danzo's attempt in becoming the Godame, and being killed by the Avenger. The truth behind the Uchiha massacre being revealed to all. Naruto clenched his fist and cleared his mind. He would keep his promise and break this cycle of violence. This was something he owed to not only his master, his parents, Nagato, but to every single shinobi who had to die because of flames war and hatred brought forth. Or Uzumaki Naruto would die trying. The shadow of death loomed over Uchiha Obito. Birds chirped as Kakashi reappeared from the spatial distortion that existed in one of his eyes. Seeing Obito alive shook him. He had adopted the Uchiha's ideals on camaraderie. They played a large part in his life. Witnessing the person he thought dead to be responsible for the deaths of Minato, Kushina, and countless others in the war took a toll on him. Obito caused doubt to surface, especially regarding Rin's death. Of course, it was Naruto who broke him out of that self-loathing and provided the push he needed to face his former teammate in the Kamui dimension. Kakashi won the battle, but at a steep price as the Uchiha escaped, leaving the masked Jonin with a nasty wound. Obito managed to stab Kakashi in the chest, and if it weren't for years of working through pain, he would have lost consciousness. He needed to tend to his injuries on the spot and mentally praised the Shinobi Alliance for coming up with the emergency aid scroll that was planned out by the Godame Hokage. The copy ninja carefully and patiently closed the wound, making sure there was less room for it to hinder his abilities later. He took 2 soldier pills, letting his chakra build up. Traveling out of the Kamui dimension would take a good amount of chakra, and considering the plan of action he had already set forth, Kakashi would need to conserve another chunk of it for a specific purpose. When he saw from his shared vision with Obito's other Sharingan Naruto and Sasuke fighting against Obito, he bided his time. The copy ninja's faith in his 2 students solidified when he felt the dimension shake and slowly collapsing, and Kakashi used his chakra to emerge out while making hand seals at the same time. Now, he stared down at the limping form of Uchiha Obito. A former shell of the great person that Kakashi knew, a man he failed and a shinobi the Sharingan wielder looked up to. The person on the ground, white-haired, withered and desperately clinging to life was not Uchiha Obito. This was Tobi, as Kakashi now called him inside his mind, a man who orphaned Naruto on the day of his birth, a mastermind responsible for the Bloody Mist's internal conflict, a human who sought to wring freedom from humanity and trap them in an endless dream world. Whatever doubts that lingered inside his mind had vanished, and Kakashi would end this. This was his responsibility. His students had done enough. Kakashi, the copy ninja, turned towards Sasuke. The raven-haired teen looked weary. If you're going to kill him, don't waste more time. Raikiri, lightning cutter, Kakashi muttered as the chirping of birds slowly decreased, and the coalesced lightning sharpened to resemble a blade. Sensei, he heard Naruto speak, who was still in sage mode. It was good to watch how the blonde didn't let his guard down. Are you sure? Yes, the copy ninja replied, his voice firm. This person isn't Obito, not anymore. You two have done enough, now rest. Seeing Naruto nod and Sasuke following him gave Kakashi all the confirmation he needed. The Jonin looked at the withered, white-haired man, his body slumped against the cold rocks a few steps away. His breathing hoarse, followed by an occasional choke, and he was trying to say something. Kakashi, he muttered out. What the hell are you waiting for? I want you to look me in the eye when I end you. I want you to realize you were wrong. That all this was for nothing, Kakashi replied. He heard laughter. It was empty and Kakashi could hear the hopelessness in it. He saw how the former Jinchuriki finally began to shed tears as he continued his chortle. It went on for some time before the broken man spoke. Kakashi, he said, and for a single moment Kakashi faltered. The image of the broken man was replaced by a cheerful teen wearing goggles, adorning a stupid expression on his face. Memories hammered their way into the copy ninja's mind as he repressed them. He told himself this wasn't Obito, this wasn't his comrade. This man was a murderer, a being seeking to bring order through chaos and trapping the entire world to get his way. Do it, the man whispered as he cried. End it. Do it before Madara makes me, and once again he coughed, spitting out blood as he choked on his ragged breaths. Once more, Kakashi faltered. He had been preparing to be the cold-blooded killer he was back during his ANBU tenure, but it seemed that staying with Naruto had rubbed off on him a bit. Before Kakashi could say anything, his eyes witnessed the black ooze making its way out of the ground. A face could be seen, its eyes white as a smile could be seen on the sludgy creature. Black Zetsu, the copy ninja thought, but it was supposed to be imprisoned by the Hiratian squad unless they caught a clone. And no, Obito weakly rasped out, as Kakashi saw the shadow-like being extend its body like fluid as it latched on to the downed Uchiha. Kakashi knew it would be too late by the time he covered the distance, yet he still dashed forward as the lightning cackled menacingly. The world narrowed down for the copy ninja. His Sharingan eye focused on Obito and Zetsu as he rushed. However, he stopped himself when he saw Zetsu disappear when a yellow flash. For a single moment, he saw a silhouette of an orange-clad person appear and just as quickly disappear with the shadow-like creature. Kakashi, Obito spoke, his tone barely above a whisper. Do it, please. XXXXXHNSWHXXXXX. Sasuke. Birds chirped as the Uchiha's lightning-encased sword pierced through the flesh of Black Zetsu. The Avenger's Chikudo cut clean through its back and into the earth, pinning it to the ground. At the same time, Naruto weaved through hand seals before he slammed them on the ground. Black letters spread across the ground Zetsu was lying on, a seal made specifically to harden the ground and not let anything pass through it. The black creatures hiding in surface jutsu was similar to Orochimaru's, and Jiraiya had developed a seal for it specifically. The pedo snake's retreat technique was a tricky one, and this seal was one of the few ways to negate it. Naruto was now glad he had kept copies of all the perverted sage's techniques on MT Maiboku. Of course, Sasuke's sword helped too. But it was his seal that kept the escape artist in place. Yeah, badass him. I knew I sensed someone else here. Thanks to your last little surge of malice before you jumped Obito, I was able to sense exactly where you were, Naruto spoke, a cheeky smile on his face. At first I was confused cause your chakra felt a bit like the Jubi's, a bit like Shodaijiji too. Then I noticed how you kept moving around but I couldn't see anyone. Mind explaining that bit? Naruto, what are you doing? The blonde didn't miss annoying tone in Sasuke's voice. We have another thing to take care of. Give me a minute. Stop having a stick up your ass for once, the blonde snapped back. The Uchiha glared, grunted and looked away. Naruto mentally congratulated himself for shutting up his former, soon-to-be-again teammate. He faced the malleable thing again and continued, now, where were we? You think you scare me, boy? It asked, and the blonde could feel the condescension in his, Eret's voice. Soon Madara-sama will get to him, and when he does, you're all doomed. For someone who's going to be trapped in a dream world, you sure seem eager about it, Naruto said, his mind ridden of all his former amusement. Even Kurama's saying the same. Hell, he says that your chakra seems familiar to another person. Naruto saw how Black Zetsu's face suddenly looked flabbergasted. Granted, there weren't exactly solid facial features, but the blonde did pick it up courtesy of Kurama's emotion-sensing service. Listening to a beast now. Here I thought you were different. Naruto, Kurama spoke in his mind. The Kyuubi no Kitsune, a sign of death to all, but a newfound friend to the blonde, continued. He's getting nervous. Yeah, I noticed, Naruto said in his mind. Something doesn't feel right. No need to take chances. Kill him. 6 months ago, Naruto would have immediately shunned such a thought. But Jiraiya's death, and seeing the true hurdles that his father faced as a shinobi, not to mention his own experiences, proved that there were just some people who could never be helped. There were some who could only get that many chances. Zetsu was not one of them. Hell, Naruto still had plans to kill Obito if things went south. While the former Leaf Nin did have regrets, tons of them, he was still a threat, the sole reason why Naruto was an orphan. He wasn't perfect. Far from it, the blonde was just as flawed as anyone out there, and his mercy, large as it was, did have its limits. Alright then, Naruto spoke, Sage mode still activated as his right hand showed the kanji letter for sword. One puff of smoke later, the blonde had a katana in his hand. Unsheathed, the hamon on the edge of the blade seemed to exude menace. The near silver gleam reflecting off of it certainly didn't help, and with a swift motion Naruto stabbed it into Kuro Zetsu's shoulder. A writhing muffle of pain was heard, as the near-invisible coat of wind surrounding the blade proceeded to slash further into the flesh. Black blood oozed out of the victim, as Naruto mentally had a conversation with Kurama. They were yet to be recharged from their scuffle, which had lasted for more than 12 hours apparently. Fighting on the battlefield in a war truly did mess with perception. In their small chat, Kurama guided Naruto to say something to Zetsu. It was just a hunch on the Biju's part. Nothing more than that, but the Kitsune was pretty damn sure it might bring out a reaction. Probably. No promises, Kurama said in his mind, just to ensure of that fact. Stupid fox. Kagaya, Naruto said, and almost immediately Kuro Zetsu's head snapped up to meet his. The blonde grinned. Hit that on right on the nail, Databeo. Naruto, Sasuke spoke, his eyebrow raised as he still held the Chikuto streaming lightning to paralyze the creature. Who's Kagaya? Well, according to Kurama, Naruto said before he pulled the blade out of Zetsu's shoulder. She's a goddess, or the closest thing to a real goddess. Elaborate, came the swift reply from the Uchiha. You've heard of the Sage of Six Paths? Naruto asked, and took the raven-haired teen's silence as his answer. Well, apparently Kagaya was this sage's mom. Oh, and she's also the Jubi. What? The Uchiha questioned. Naruto couldn't blame Sasuke for that. He himself found out, now no less. If Kurama was a little more cooperative from the beginning, he could have known this shit beforehand. Damn foxes and their pride. They would be the death of him one day. Getting a bit over yourself now, Naruto, Kurama said, a bit dangerously. You know what, maybe I'll just stop holding Sage mode and dash. Naruto mentally yelled while trying to keep a calm facade. Though if one were to look closer, the beads of sweat and throbbing nerves on the blonde's face looked amusing. Not now, especially since Shodanjiji is fighting Madara team. Humph, the Kyuubi no Kitsune grunted, quite uncharacteristically if Naruto was to guess. Fine, but after this I want some peace and quiet. Also, you're going to change this place. A sewer is not worthy to accommodate someone as great as me. Are you listening? Sasuke's voice shook him out. Clearly the raven-haired teen was getting tired of waiting. The jerk. Right, Naruto said, the Jubi is the tree combined with Kagaya. Apparently the old hag is much stronger than the Rakuto Jiji, and his brother. He had a brother? Yeah, Byakugan wielder apparently, Naruto said with somewhat of an amused tone. Makes me wonder how much of a bitch she was. Shut up! Zetsu yelled and tried to get up, before Sasuke simply twisted the blade, increasing the pressure and the lightning stream. Yet the defiance in its eyes didn't waver as it spoke. Mother is far above you humans. Yup, the Kyuubi spoke, I was right. This guy thing, whatever the he is, works for Kagaya. If what Oyaji, old man, said about her is true, you need to finish this, Naruto. Even with me at full power, you wouldn't be able to beat her. And that, Naruto mentally replied, is all the incentive I need. Did he want to take on a goddess that Kurama didn't want to fight? No chance in hell. The old him, he'd rush first and ask questions later. Now, he needed to think a bit carefully before going in all guns blazing. A little planning never hurt, and Naruto drew back the katana as wind-laced chakra coated the length of the blade. It let out somewhat of a hissing sound, similar to how a snake coils back before striking as Naruto horizontally slashed Setsu across the face. A squelch was heard as the black creature's face split in two, more ooze spread like spilled water as it covered the surface. Its body shook violently, gushing out the dark liquid as a disgusting smell covered the area. Naruto retched a bit before jumping away. Sasuke lifted his hold the moment when the blonde sword struck the now dead Setsu's face. Somehow, Naruto said with a groan, instead of making me puke, that just made me hungry. Sasuke grunted, clearly out of disgust at the words the blonde said. Oh, don't you me, team, Naruto said with a hint of familiarity. I know exactly what you meant by that. Really? Loser? That's all you have to say? You're lucky you're endearing. What? I meant as a friend, you ass. Honestly, hanging out with Orochimaru has messed your sexual orientation more than I thought. As if you'd know better. I do, wait. Don't tell me, Naruto said with a shit-eating grin on his face. Oh log, you're still a virgin. Denial through silence. Seems like your MO. Wait, you're not? Who? When? Seriously? You're just going to ignore me? Fine, be murky. Whatever else they wanted to say to each other was left unsaid as they both heard footsteps approaching them. Neither the Uzumaki or Uchiha could claim to have seen Hatake Kakashi this tired of everything. His right arm painted a dark red, as warm, sticky liquid fell from it to the earth. Kakashi then lifted said arm and opened his fist. A single eyeball rested in his bloody hand, lavender and purple draped on it with concentric rings spreading all over the eyeball. For a moment the three curiously looked at the single Rinnegan. Thoughts lingered in their minds. Kakashi crushed it in his hand with all the force he could muster. More blood leaked through his enclosed hand before he let it drop to the ground. It looked more like a paper now, a dirty paper with smears of red on it. Why did you destroy it? Sasuke spoke, breaking the momentary silence. Obito told me to, Kakashi replied, as if it were the most simple reason in the world. Madara would have probably found another way to come back in a solid manner. That's not a bad thing. Rinnegan users are a pain in the ass, no pun intended, Naruto said as Kakashi shook his head. A large force shook the area as many people were blasted off the very ground. Red torii gates flew somewhere near them and Naruto's eyes widened as he heard a yell of fury echoing in the battlefield. Thankfully, Naruto was still retaining his sage mode, so he could sense exactly where this chaos emerged from. I don't mean to be that guy, Naruto said, a tad bit nervously, but that was the same thing that pain used against me. Madara, Kakashi said as all three of their eyes looked at the direction where Madara and Hashirama were still fighting. The landscape, of course, had changed due to the freakish nature of their battle capacity, and from the looks of it even the Edo Tensei were slowly running on empty, as neither of them saw a giant humanoids made of blue ethereal chakra or adamantium-like would not roaming around. We need to seal him, Naruto said as he prepared to launch off. We need to come up with a plan first, the voice of Senju Tobirama said as he arrived, with Namake's Minato-san's one arm. Yondaime and I previously got close, until he used that repulsion technique. All my Hiraishin kunai around that area are gone too, Minato added, his tone grave serious. I'm low on chakra at the moment, Sasuke said, and it was true. The Uchiha had used up a lot of chakra in the fight against Obito in his Jinchuriki form, and Naruto himself was a bit tired. Soldier pills? The Naidame Hokage asked, and all three, living, shinobi shook their heads. The Senju looked at the source of the booming noises coming in. Madara sensed that Obito was dead and later used that technique of his. So, we got a pissed off, undead Rinnegan user after us? Just great, Naruto said as he cleaned a sheen of sweat from his forehead. Shodame-sama has been slowing down ever since he got struck with those black rods, Minato said, and that got Naruto's attention. Wait. Black rods. He yelled and two undead Hokage nodded their heads. This is bad. This is really bad, we need to go help him, now. As Naruto dashed off, all the other shinobi followed him. Minato happened to be the closest to him. Naruto, Are those the same black rods that— Yeah, the blonde said. I didn't think Madara used it on Shodanjiji already. What's going on exactly? Tobirama asked as he caught up along with the others. The black rods, Minato explained, they can paralyze all movements. Touching them without natural energy only causes more harm, and the victims impaled with it can move freely. Then Madara, Tobirama said, contempt lacing his words. He's been letting Nissan gain the upper hand this whole time, considering how long he's been stabbed with those. Just waiting for the right time. You've gotta be kidding me, Naruto said as all of them saw a blue, incomplete Susanoo form around Madara's frame. Even from a far distance, the large human-like being with two faces could be seen making hand seals. Oh, as all of them kept rushing forward, a shadow covered the entire landscape. The moonlight dimmed as darkness spread like a plague across the landscapes. All shinobi, kunoichi and the biju looked up. A cold sweat run down the spines of mortals as a large asteroid descended from the heavens and almost all of the shinobi stood still. Damn it! It's that jutsu again! Naruto yelled out of frustration. If he had Kurama's chakra mode right now, maybe he could do something. Right now he could perform 3S ranked, or a bit above that class, techniques and then the natural energy would run out. What is that? Sasuke asked. His eyes widened at the sheer size of the falling celestial body as it was falling slowly to create more suspense. I don't know the ing name. But there's two large boulders falling, not one, Naruto said as he was preparing to make shadow clones. Madara would have to wait for the moment. Maybe with the Nidaime and his dad, Naruto could teleport them out of here. But he had to time it right, and he was a bit low on chakra at the moment. Damn it! Naruto yelled as he stopped, and was about to make clones. It seemed he didn't have a choice. He still had that technique left, but with the amount of chakra he had, he couldn't pull it off and given the circumstance of now, he didn't have a choice. Before he could though, he was stopped by a voice. Oi brat! An inhumane, loud yell came and Naruto couldn't stop the grin forming on his face. Son Goku, the Yanbi and the other Biju were rushing towards the two asteroids. Leave those falling testicles to us. Go seal that bastard. Finally I get to get loose. Shikaku yelled with glee and his excitement towards destruction was well appreciated at the moment. Must you two be so crude, Isaba said with a bit of disdain. Higher, Chome. We'll hit the ones above and these guys can blast the debris, Matatabi, the blue-flamed Nikomata said as the flying Kabutawari carried it in the skyline. I'm trying, Tabi. You're heavier than you look, the Nanabai said as it struggled a bit. That's kind of rude. We all weigh the same, except Kurama and Ai and Gyuki and Ai, Saiken said as it rushed alongside its other siblings. Well, I don't see them around, Koko said a bit haughtily as the horse-dolphin beast raced faster than the others. Chome, Matatabi, you two need to hit it first. We'll blast whatever remains. Tobirama disbelievingly looked at how the tailed beasts were rushing to help the allied shinobi force. I've never seen anything like that. You should see Kurama. Guy can be serious asshole at times, Naruto quipped. He saw up to see two large spheres of black, purple and red chakra forming near Matatabi and Chome. A sonic sound cut through the wind as the two gigantic spheres of energy shot off at high speeds and hit something in the sky. A large crashing noise came as thousands of falling boulders rained from the sky. Naruto and the others felt the shockwave that came from the sky and that wasn't the end of it. Shikaku, Isabu, Son Goku, Koko and Saiken were preparing to launch equally gigantic spheres as well. Then Shikaku, Son Goku and Saiken blasted theirs as the three small planet-like orbs were fired at the falling asteroid and upon impact, a scene of complete oblivion was seen as a white light shone in the dark sky. Koko and Isabu then blasted their own Baijidama at the falling debris, and the result was obvious. The thousands of falling boulders were removed from existence. Silence reigned supreme for a moment, before all the remaining members of the Ali Shinobi force cheered in victory. They cheered for the tailed beasts, the very same beasts that they had long since despised. From when the hidden village system came to be and now, things had changed. The era of shinobi, Tobirama said with a hint of a smile, it's changed from what I remember. We can all talk about this later, Sasuke said, not really looking to socialize from Naruto's perspective. We have to seal Madara first. You know what, team? Naruto said. For once I agree with you. In the back of his mind, Naruto knew that the Uchiha had changed. Cold and antisocial is what came to define Uchiha Sasuke. The reason behind why the blonde had unyielding faith in Sasuke was simple. Itachi's reanimation had successfully used the Kodo Amatsukami on the Avenger, after Naruto used a contract seal to break Kabuto's hold over the former Akatsuki member. I feel like killing myself now, Sasuke added as an afterthought. Log damn it, team! XXXXXHNSWHXXXXX. Stupid beasts, Madara said with contempt. I'll have to change my plans for the moment. You're not going anywhere, Hashirama said, his Edo Tensei form riddled with the black receivers. The Shodaime made the ram seal once more. Our time has long since passed, Madara. There's no need to bring back our ghosts here in the now. You're still blind as ever, Hashirama, the undead Uchiha said. Madara then made a ram seal and the Mokuton user felt a foreign chakra seeping into his circuits. His entire body buckled under the weight as his Edo Tensei frame cracked like glass, skin fell off like paper, as Madara walked forward. Standing in front of the now kneeling Senju, the ghost of the Uchiha spoke. You honestly think this alliance between the villages will last? You're even bigger fool than you were back then, Madara said, disappointed at his rival. You're wrong, Hashirama spoke with stoic determination in his eyes. This generation is different. They're the dream we once sought to complete, Madara. Why can't you just accept it? Speaking to you is pointless, the Uchiha said as a black rod emerged from his palm and pierced into Hashirama's chest. It's only a matter of time, Hashirama. I will achieve my goal. Obito may be gone. I'll just use someone else to bring me back. Another Rinnegan, huh? Hashirama barely spoke as he felt his natural energy leaving his body. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. No one here that can match me, much less seal me, Madara said, a twisted smile forming on his face. I'll just bide my time, kill everyone, keep one alive to bring me back. Then use the Mugen Tsukuyami. You'll fail, the Shodaime said, as the last of the red and black markings on his face disappeared. Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke will stop you. A brat who doesn't come close to my level will beat me? Madara said in mirth. And the Kyuubi brat with his flashy jutsu hopes to stand a chance? Hashirama, both you and I could crush them. They have something we don't. Humor me then, Madara said. What exactly do they have that I don't? A dream worth fighting for, Hashirama smiled, before another black rod went through his chest as his frame cracked further. I'll kill them both. An Uchiha who fights for your peace is already a lost cause, and as for the Kyuubi brat, he's the linchpin here, Madara said as he drawing his hand, senses became sharper with added enhancement of senjutsu. He's the one tying this whole thing up. In fact, he almost reminds me of you, only more stupid. His name, Hashirama said, defiant as ever, is Uzumaki Naruto. He is the one who will bring that peace. Even though I've known him for a short while, he's earned my trust. The entire shinobi forces are looking up to. I won't deny that, Madara said as he felt some chakra signatures approaching him. Most of them were fodder in his mind, but if I kill him first, the entire thing will fall apart. Say if I were to fail and he were to die, there would be no alliance anymore. Go ahead, say I'm wrong. You are. I'm not, Madara said as he saw the battalion of shinobi approaching him. You think it's mere conviction of the Uzumaki brat that's keeping them in line? No, Hashirama. It's fear. Fear of how strong he is. He's allied with the tailed beasts, he's mastered the power of the Kyuubi, has an advanced form of Tobirama's jutsu. No village in their right mind would break the peace as long as he and that Uchiha brat is around. Madara kicked Hashirama away like a discarded toy as he crashed into the distant stony wall. Making the necessary hand seals, he prepared for a jutsu while using his feet as weapon to drive away members of the allied shinobi force that came rushing in, or kill, as the first two died upon contact with his feet. He needed to take care of the tailed beasts first. Bind them and keep them in place before he could find someone to bring him back to life. Black Zetsu was dead from what he sensed. Madara swerved away as he grabbed a kunai with his teeth. He then slashed a random shinobi in the face before carving his way through several more. Finishing the hand seals after infusing the right amount of chakra, he slammed his palms together before slowly separating them. A small black sphere between his hands, and it slightly spun, before it kept growing larger. Madara then literally threw the sphere into the sky above as it kept growing larger. Shin, Chibaku Tensei, true, planetary devastation, Madara said as he made the snake seal. The surface beneath his feet was torn asunder. The black sphere above spun on its axis, as everything around it was being drawn towards it. All the shinobi that previously charged at Madara were being sucked into the warping sphere as the very earth cracked and flew past them. Madara of course skipped and hopped on the ascending collection of debris as his Rinnegan eyes found the tailed beasts waiting to confront him. Soon enough, he had gotten out of the range of the jutsu as he looked forward to imprisoning his pets. "I'm coming for you, filthy beasts," Madara said, and before he knew it, black flames covered his entire body. Granted, it didn't hurt much, but it was annoying and slowed him down. Using Shinra Tensei to get rid of the flames, he prepared once more, but his eyes caught a kunai passing in front of him. In an instant, Tobirama appeared in front of him. Instinctually, Madara grabbed the kunai that the Senju aimed for him and blocked a kick with his foot midair. "Only you can come up with the shrewdest methods, Tobirama," the Uchiha said, and saw the Senju smirk at him. True, not less than a millisecond passed when a yellow flash appeared above Tobirama. It was the other wielder of the Kyuubi who had a blue orb of chakra in his hand. Madara simply raised his hand to absorb the jutsu. "Useless," the Uchiha said, and was preparing to swat them away, but the blonde Hokage's words caught him off guard. "She's not," the blonde said before another copy of his emerged from above, and with him was Hashirama's granddaughter. Her foot extended, aiming for his forehead as his bearing was changed by Tobirama. "Absorb this!" Senju Tsunade yelled as her foot hammered down on the Uchiha's face, making him fly a fair distance away from them, and creating a large crater where he fell. XXXXXHNSWHXXXXX. Is it wrong that I have a boner right now? Naruto asked himself as he saw Tsunade literally bitch-kicking Madara away from them. Tsunade, in the bedroom, was wild to say the least, but seeing her kick away an undead, legendary shinobi was just so. "Naruto, focus!" Kurama yelled inside his mind. "You humans, an inappropriate habit for rutting with each other at the wrong time is disgusting. Shut up, you asexual fox. You just jealous cause you don't get some, or any," Naruto thought as he and two other clones were busy creating Odoma Rasengan. Then each of them separately began to add a change in nature to them. Lightning cracked, water swirled, and wind screeched as the three blue spheres began to gain additional features. Water danced around one of them, thrusting about to unleash waves. Lightning chirped as 6 ellipses revolved around another, the spheres sharpened at one end as well. Finally, the last one had white shuriken-like blades spun with high velocities as it screeched. Naruto calmly prepared one of his most devastating collaborating jutsu at the small planetoid. Once he was in launching range, he prepared to unleash it, knowing full well that some shinobi may die from the effect of it. But it had to be done. Suetun, Odoma Rasen Hahanryu, water release, giant spiraling ripping torrent. Raitun, Odoma Rasen Rakurai, lightning release, giant spiraling lightning bolt. Futon, Odoma Raisin Shuriken, wind release, giant spiraling shuriken. All three jutsu launched simultaneously as they went with high speeds towards the moon-like structure, cutting through the debris and unfortunately some bodies before finally hitting the black core of Madara's jutsu. A large explosion occurred, as the shockwaves shook the area around it for 2 whole minutes before it settled down. Then all the flying debris in the air fell down along with the shinobi, who were smart enough to somehow evade the falling boulders. "I am taking a vacation after this," Naruto panted out, his sage mode finally running out of juice. He sat down and saw Sasuke munching on a soldier pill. "Where the heck did you get that?" "Swapped one off someone nearby," Sasuke said as he swallowed the pill. A look of dissatisfaction crossed his face. "It's not enough." Naruto and Sasuke saw how Madara had gotten up and was now fighting against the 5 Kage, the Biju, and so many others with his Susanoo. It was frustrating to see just how powerful he was, but Naruto noted something when Sasuke spoke. "Is he slowing down?" Sasuke asked. "Yeah, he is," Naruto said, but it wasn't slow enough as Madara revealed his own set of black flames to kill so many around him. "Oh great. He's got black flames too," Naruto, Sasuke said as he got up. Do you have anything that will work against him? Just one, Naruto said, and Uchiha noted the grim tone of his voice. Will it work? It will, the blonde replied, and Sasuke nodded before bolting off towards where Madara was. Purple aura surrounded the Uchiha as his Susanoo came to life, and went straight for Madara. I don't have a choice, Naruto told himself. Naruto, Kurama spoke. Are you sure about this? You do realize what'll happen to you? I know. And I'm not looking forward to it either, Naruto said with a sad smile. What'll happen to you? I don't know. Never really died before, Kurama said. But you will come back, right? Eventually. That's good, Naruto said. After all that shit you've been through for so long, it'll be nice to get some respect. I don't need respect. All they need to do is fear me. Oh, don't you start that shit again. Fine. Kurama, can you lend me some chakra, one last time, buddy? I don't have enough, nor does my other half. We need more time. It's a shame we don't have that, the blonde said dishearteningly. Well, I guess I could always dash. Now, hold on there, Kurama cut him off. You're just going to give up. Honestly, no. I was thinking of pulling off a self-destructive jutsu, but last time I checked, I'm not that art is an explosion guy, Naruto said with a deadpan expression. Well, glad to see you haven't given up. As for the chakra problem, leave that to me, the Kyuubi said as it took in a deep breath. Minions, give the idiot your chakra. Ah. Naruto clutched his ears from the sudden shout Kurama gave. What the was that, Kurama? It hurt my body more than I thought. Not now, flesh bag, Kurama chided. I know all of you heard me. The kid's got a plan that'll work. So whatever the hell you idiots are trying to pull off, stop it and lend the kid some chakra. Before Naruto could say a word, his eyes caught a reddish-orange like glow emanating from the battlefield. It looked like smoke, if he was to be honest, fast-traveling, highly concentrated smoke that was aiming right for him. Oh shit! Don't dodge, Kurama said, making him halt his action. That's pure Biju chakra coming in, 4 in 1 no less, and if I don't adjust it properly... Well, you're going to shit yourself. You're kidding about the last part, right? Naruto asked, half expecting it to be a joke. The vermilion-hued fluid was getting closer to him. No, Kurama replied, now squeeze your butt in. 'Cause this is going to be more painful than that time you drank expired milk. Oh, fuck! Naruto yelled as the foreign chakra hit him with full force and was entering his body. Pain was the only thing he could feel right now. His flesh was on fire, his nerves became ice, and his mind was on the point of breaking. Still, he stood his ground as his body absorbed the large volume of chakra. Luckily, the pain ceased after a few minutes as smoke came off his body. He fell on his knees and panted heavily. His hands looked it had cracked, similar to the ones an Edo Tensei had on them. Then the mark slowly receded before his normal complexion returned. What the was that? Naruto asked as he felt rejuvenated, but there were some stiff spots as he finally stood up. That was me opening 7 gates in your body. If I didn't, you'd already be dead, Kurama said. So, I'm part Biju now? Naruto asked as he prepared to take off into battle. No, it was so I could moderate the chakra. Don't get above your spot in the food chain, the kitsune finished, and Naruto mentally chuckled at the words. Well, the blonde said, I guess it's time to end it all. XXXXXHNSWHXXXXX. Rinbo, Hengoku, Limbo, Border Jail, Madara muttered as a shadow of himself moved around and kicked 2 Biju away. The technique relied on him making a clone of sorts that separated from his body. It moved around due to its invisibility, and took care of some of the problems he had. It was getting annoying in his opinion. The fact that his body was getting slower, for some reason he was yet to find out, didn't help. The Uchiha brat was putting up a good fight as well with a complete body Susanoo. The ghost assumed that his eyes had the same chak tomo as his, hence the fluid movement in his stance. Madara's Susanoo, much to his inner shame, had been destroyed by the Biju when all of them decided to barrage him with 7-tailed beasts bombs at full power. On top of that, the brat with the Sharingan was causing him problems with Enten. Of course he stopped that technique by showcasing his own versatility with Amaterasu. Then came the children Kage who were escaping his grasps with the help of Tobirama and, he assumed, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's father. As much as Madara wanted to unleash Tengai Shinsei or Chibaku Tensei, his chakra started to become rigid whenever he used too much of it. The ghost had honed his chakra control for years, and there were very few who could even hope to match his level. Yet, this day was starting to wear on him. The natural energy did come in handy when dodging the attacks, but it still wasn't enough for him. Sasuke rushed forward with his Chikuto, the blade going straight for Madara's heart. The ghost, having lived through enough battles, sidestepped and let the blade pierce his arm. Pain was nothing new to Madara, and with his other hand he gripped the blade, not letting the young Uchiha escape. "Your eyes," Madara said as he looked directly at the raven teenager. "They're similar to mine. I wonder if we're related by more than just blood." The only reply the ghost received was Tobirama coming in from the side and almost managing to slash his torso. Once more Madara managed to evade the attack, and he could use his shadow again. Channeling chakra to his Rinnegan, a clone of himself exited from his frame. Draped in white, the clone pushed away all his other attackers as Madara focused on Sasuke alone. "Shame. Here I thought your eyes could see the truth," Madara said as he yanked his arm forward and pulled Sasuke closer. A black receiver emerged from his palm and was going straight for Sasuke's right eye, before the young Uchiha disappeared in a yellow flash and a puff of smoke. The undead Uchiha hit nothing but air as some anger slowly built up inside him. This momentary lapse in attention didn't make him notice how 4 tri-pronged kunai were buried into the earth around him, albeit somewhat of a fair distance away. "Kekai Shiho Fujin, 4-corner ceiling barrier," a voice said as lines of seals emerged from the kunai and went upwards. More lines emerged until a dome surrounded the area, a silver-like layer of chakra coating the layer, as Uzumaki Naruto appeared there. He was still going through hand seals as he threw out 4 scrolls at the same time. The parchments of paper were laid out as every single letter glowed with a blue light. Kekai Kanren Jikuken, Sanren Shiki, triple layer, space-time disruption barrier. Naruto finished as 3 layers of blue chakra emerged inside the dome and went straight through the ground. He sighed in relief. "Phew. Well, that takes care of that. Uzumaki Naruto," Madara said, his voice not having the same calm tone as he did throughout the entire day. The Uchiha's frustrations were drawing to an all-time high as he looked at the grinning blonde. "At your service," Naruto said with a salute. To the Jinchuriki he was a bit surprised at how relaxed he was, considering what he was about to do. Perhaps it was the finality of it all that kept him composed. Things could only end one way now. "You're turning out to be quite the thorn," Madara said as he walked forward, his eyes outright glaring at the blonde as he noted how his allies outside were yelling at him. Did the brat intend to face him alone? It was almost insulting. Even Tobirama and that other blonde were shouting at him. Seemed that the barrier did end any and all attempts to use a teleportation jutsu. That meant the brat wouldn't be able to go out either. "You're actually going to face me alone," Madara said after seeing the blonde nod. For a moment, he stood still before he began shaking. Then the laughter could be heard. The world saw Uchiha Madara laughing his heart out. It was purely maniacal to some, a few even feared the sight of him doing such an act. "Are you looking down on me, Tobeo?" Naruto asked, an annoyed expression on his face. Instead, all he heard was more laughter. He rushed the Uchiha, who laughed a bit more, before blocking the blonde's punch and the kick aimed for his face, which missed. However, Madara's smirk faded when he felt something invisible hit his face and was driven back by the impact. His Rinnegan eyes searched for what hit him, and found nothing. He assumed it must have been something similar to his shadows, but there was nothing present. "Not so funny now, huh?" Naruto rhetorically mocked the Uchiha. He went after Madara again, and much to the blonde's chagrin, the undead shinobi kept dodging all his attacks while throwing the best counters Naruto ever saw in his life. Even with the clones, which were being dispelled, if it wasn't for Sage Mode, all those strikes would have landed due to the small time frame they acted in. He couldn't use Chakra Mode right now. If he did, he could end up fainting any time, and the jutsu he was setting couldn't have him do that under any circumstance. For now, taijutsu and diversion was all he could pull off, and so far it wasn't bad. Until Madara started to clinically murder all his clones with precise strikes to their vital points. Then both of them simultaneously landed a punch on each other before backing off. Some blood drew from Naruto's lips, as he noted not to get too close to the Uchiha. Not now, at least. However, Madara was getting frustrated. Not because of how skilled the blonde was, no. The boy had some talent, but it wasn't enough to take him on. His Edo Tensei body was acting more strangely. His movements were becoming restricted and the chakra flow was more haphazard than before. Having trouble, are we? Naruto said before closing the distance between them both along with more clones. Each blow cancelled the other out, before Madara extended his hand. The blonde and his copies were wise enough to go back up, but Madara's next words rendered it useless. Bansho Tenin, heavenly attraction of all creation, the Uchiha said as gravity pulled the Jinchuriki and his clones towards him. He didn't care anymore, this would end. Enten, Hanoi Kazuchi, Inferno release, fire lightning. Tendrils of black flames jutted out of the Uchiha's body as 5 of the Amaterasu conjured spikes impaled the blonde and his clones. Each of them dispelled, except the original, and Madara saw how a chakra arm formed on the blonde's side as it held the black flame in place. Ha! Naruto yelled as his fist hammered against the shocked Uchiha, breaking his face as the Uchiha fell on his back for the first time. Naruto got down on one knee as he deactivated the chakra arm. He thought in pain. I didn't expect so much backlash from just a simple usage. So, Madara said as he sat back up and looked at the blonde. Tissues of particles forming to complete his jawline again. Using that form isn't helping you anymore. That just makes it easier. Speak for yourself, Naruto said with a small chuckle. It hurt to laugh at the moment, but he needed to keep it up, just for a bit longer. I see you're slowing down as well. You're not moving at the speed you were when you faced the 4th division. Madara said nothing, but the small widening of his eyes gave Naruto the opening he needed. That attack was slow too. From what I saw moments ago, you were throwing around black flames like they were spare change. Hell, your Susanoo was carrying flame blades before I came here. Naruto finished and laughed a bit more, and internally groaned in pain. Do you want to know why? The blonde asked. If this is your way to stalling me while your comrades, Madara said, almost condescendingly, come up with a plan, you're failing. I will break out of this barrier, jail those filthy beasts and kill everyone here. You, Uzumaki Naruto, will die before you get to see any of that happening. Well, you're 1/4 right, the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi said as he stood up. The confusion on Madara's face made him almost glee. But for humor's sake, do you want to know why you're not being able to fight like you were before? Silence was all he heard, and being around Sasuke long enough, Naruto knew exactly what it meant. Natural energy's a bitch, Naruto said, ignoring all the yells from his friends, father and everyone else in the alliance as they started to outright attack the barrier now. It was useless. What? Madara asked, confused by the way the teen had phrased it. Simple, Madara team, Naruto said, hoping to get some reaction out of the Uchiha. He did not. Moving on, he explained, natural energy isn't something you can just outright absorb. There's a reason why you have to train that hard to become a damn sage in the first place. You and your knockoff Shodanjiji copy ripoff on your left isn't going to do shit when it comes to harnessing the energy. Hell, the only reason you're still walking around is probably because you have some of his cells and the fact that you're an empty husk. I see, Madara said as he formed a blue ribcage around him. He struggled a bit, but the first stage would be enough to do what he wanted. No, he needed to do. This brat was looking down on him with that infernal grin of his. It stroked his pride, and Madara, above all else, wouldn't concede defeat to anyone but Hashirama. Then there's only thing left for me to do, ending you, brat. Seriously? Brat? I'm not surprised, even Sasuke has more personality than you, Naruto said before narrowly avoiding the strike of the blue skeletal hand that would have turned him into pudding. But I am surprised you actually talked that long with me. Really, I am. Consider it me giving you some solace, Madara said before flesh weaved around the skeleton. His Susanoo entered the second stage. A sword formed, black flames wrapping around it as he lifted it to make a strike. He struggled a bit. If what the brat said was true, then that would explain why forming this attack, something that was second nature to him, felt this vexing. Still, the ghost could not let the insult stride. His pride as a warrior demanded retribution. Unfortunately for you, brat, that time is up, Madara finished as the sword burned furiously, bleeding dark cinders as they danced in the air. With this, he would end it. You're right, Naruto said as his sage mode faded and some tears did well up in his eyes. The young sage's actions once more made the Uchiha halt his actions, and said, "Time's up, for both of us." Before Madara could bring the ethereal, blackened sword down, red ripples appeared on Naruto's body. Like a stone falling upon to cause small waves, the concentric shapes kept moving back and forth. All of them glowed like beacons, before chains started to emerge out of them. On each end were curved hooks, and before the ghost could break out of his stupor at this bizarre display, the red-bladed chains shot off at a speed his Sharingan couldn't track. A collective shatter was heard as the sharp ends of the chains tore through Madara's humanoid Susanoo, and pierced the frame of Edo Tensei. They stuck inside his body and twisted to bind themselves around him, though they did not immobilize him as he yanked his arm in pain. Yes, the Uchiha felt pain. He was undead. He shouldn't be able to feel such a stigma in this state. Besides that, he had been through battles and endured strikes that shattered the very ground. Yet these stabs felt like they were methodically poisoning him, weakening him, and this notion alone sent nerve-wracking jolts throughout him. "I didn't figure you were someone who talked that much in a fight," Naruto said as he looked up with a solemn smile. The chains that connected the two slowly moved around like smoke. "But I guess I was lucky. You're the sort of guy who likes to feed his hubris now and then. Especially against brats. And people call me an idiot. Take that, mainstream opinion." Madara tried to yank the chains off, but to no avail, as touching them made his grip falter more and the weight that was previously on him before was weighing him down further. "Still, there must have been a way to break these off. Don't bother." "It's useless," Naruto said as slowly walked forward. "You really should have paid more attention to the battle when you realized you couldn't sense me anymore." "Excuse you and your extinct clan?" Madara asked, and raged at the blonde's words. "You didn't sense me, did you? When I swapped Sasuke's place with a clone of mine? Or when I landed from above?" Naruto asked and Madara didn't reply. "Look up, maybe you'll find it enlightening." As the Uchiha looked up, a sense of dread invaded his mind. A single black spiral was there up at the converging center of the dome. It was growing larger every second and Madara couldn't see anything beyond. All he saw was darkness and absence. "Do you remember the first seal I set up? The one you saw?" Naruto asked. "Yeah, I had no intention of using that. But seeing how you even broke out of that super sandy pyramid thing Shikaku and Gaara made, I decided that I'd seal you into me." "You fool," Madara said. "You're going to seal me inside you? Do you even know what would happen?" "Of course I do. There's a large chance I'd die, but that's not what the seal above is for," the blonde said. "Honestly speaking, the seal wasn't made to use against you. The plan was to trap Tobi inside the barrier, making sure he can't use that Hack's jutsu of his, and then somehow beating the shit out of him, or..." He paused and pointed upwards at the black emptiness. "Using a jutsu that tore a fabric in space and time to erase him from existence. That, Madara, was the first seal I placed before I even landed here. The one you didn't notice. A suicidal technique. To go so far for a world that's already spelled its doom," Uchiha Madara said, still trying to break the chains. "I take back what I said about Hashirama. You're a bigger fool than that idiot ever was. Maybe, but it's my decisions to make, and those chains you're trying to break, that's nothing to scoff at either to Bayo," Naruto said, a proud smile on his face. "This is another one of my created Fuinjutsu, Unmyaidaki no Fusa, fate-bound sealing chains. It's not as cool as my mom's chains, but this technique has a few specific uses. These chains binds the both of us. As long as I'm alive, you're not going to escape from its grasp. As long as you're an Uchiha, you're not allowed to mold chakra, and neither am I. Then these seals are self-sustaining and will remain that way as long as I'm on this planet," the blonde said immediately and smiled widely, even at the prospect of death. "This was a one-way trip I made, and if I can take you with me, I have no qualms about that." "You," Madara rushed forward and punched the blonde. "Do you even realize what you've done?" The teen shrugged it off and landed an uppercut on the Uchiha's chin. The force behind the blow lifted the Edo Tensei before he hit the ground. Madara felt a dizzy sensation. While he would appreciate such a feeling in battle, the fact that he would be obliterated, erased from the world, did not sit well with him, and he looked at the blonde, who looked down at him condescendingly. "Take some dignity in defeat, would you?" Naruto said, and looked at the Uchiha, who glared at him. "Right now you're as useless as I am. At least go out in peace." Naruto! The yell of Namikaze Minato finally reached his son as father and son looked at each other. What have you done? Why, the same reason you did it, Two-chan, Naruto said. To keep my precious people safe and the world too. That's not what I wanted for you. Tomorrow's your birthday, for God's sake, Minato said, tears freely falling from his face. His son was about to die. To the fourth Hokage, there was no greater punishment than a child watching his die. How can I face your mother after this? How do I tell her I failed my own child? Just tell her I did it with a grin on my face. And I did grow a tad bit smarter, with your and everybody's help, of course, Naruto said, his voice weaker from the fact that he would be dying. Apparently, all Uzumaki are stubborn according to her. Naruto! Tsunade yelled out. This time Naruto did feel a stab of guilt inside. Both of them came to cherish their times together, even though it would probably never work. I'm sorry, he said, looking at her. I really am, but this is something I have to do. Just like how you saved me from pain. You idiot, she said before looking away, knowing exactly how stubborn and adamant the blonde could be. Not denying that statement, Naruto said. He kept an eye on the Uchiha was trying something and failing, no doubt. Dobe, Sasuke said, and Naruto's eyes widened a bit. What the heck do you think you're doing? You and I are supposed to fight? What about bringing me back to village? What about your thrice damned dream you kept on yapping about? What sort of a Hokage in making are you? The one who finally saved his friend Tobeo? Naruto said with a grin, despite the tears that fell freely. His head was starting to feel light as his feet felt wobbly. He didn't have much time. Oh, Sasuke, do me a favor, okay? Shut up, the Uchiha said, and tried to hit the barrier with a conjured Susanoo arm. It won't work as long as I'm here, Naruto said and laughed a bit. It was ironic, really. Fuinjutsu's scary stuff. Given the right details and conditions, nothing can break it. You're not supposed to be this smart, you loser, Sasuke said and looked at the blonde who was laughing and crying at the same time. He saw how Naruto reached for something in his pouch, and for the first time since the massacre, the young Uchiha felt sorrow. A soul-scratched-out headband rested in Naruto's headband. The blonde showed it to him and spoke. Promise kept, Team Naruto said, throwing the headband towards the sharp prong of the kunai. Inside the seal, winds picked up as Madara no longer fought further and stood still, accepting his fate. I can't even use Izanagi because of these accursed chains, Madara said as he looked up at the void which grew larger. Yeah, I didn't know something like that existed until I saw that creepy Danzo guy use it against Sasuke. I would have never come up with that loophole about the whole Uchiha-bound thing too if it wasn't for that fight, Naruto said, and the Uchiha stared at him impassively. Funny thing, these chains won't actually work without the presence of that big hole up there. Well, it's not exactly haha funny. But get what I'm saying right. This jutsu, what happens when you go through it? The void? Madara asked, curiosity getting the better of him. Unique ninjutsu or fuinjutsu always interested him. If this was his last moment, may as well end it on a note better than last time when he slumped forward to death. Even if it was conversing with a brat, who smiled far too brightly for his taste. I don't know, Naruto said as he felt being drawn towards the swirling aberration. But I know this much. I can never come back here, at least in theory. This is a door to somewhere, and the trip would probably kill all passengers. A suicidal technique through and through. But considering your stubborn drive, it's useful in that sense, Madara said, his face showing no emotions. What's the name of the jutsu? Well, I had to study a lot for this, Naruto said as both he and the Uchiha were drawing near the endless darkness. So I only came up with a name that sorta seemed fitting instead of coming up with a badass title like I usually do. And that is? Chihaizen Shimoku, Event Horizon, Naruto said as both of them were about to enter the darkness. That's not a bad name, Madara said before both of them became absorbed by the void. The internal area of the barrier became pitch black for an entire minute as everyone stayed on their toes. Then the darkness lifted and the barrier shattered as everyone rushed forward. All they found were the 4 Hiraishin-marked kunai, some blood on the ground and a scratched Hittite stuck to the edge of the tri-pronged blade. October 10th, the day this shinobi world would remember as the day of the hero. The day Uzumaki Naruto gave up his life to bring peace.